Just like David Brady predicted Mayo would stick Aidan O'Shea and Kieran Donaghy, last Friday, Conor McKeon had his own mystic Meg moment when he predicted exactly how Dublin would set up against Tyrone.
It's the 2014 loss to Donegal. Obviously we heard about, Jim Gavin had a basketball coach in, talking to them about screens, talking to them about zonal defence. And you can see, they can click into gear very early in the game. They can see what they're faced and they can adapt to it. So, on Sunday you'll see Dublin's corner forwards will stay right in the corners. Their wing forwards will hug the wings. They'll try and stretch the Tyrone cover as thin as they possibly can. And they'll send runners to occupy sweepers, and then eventually they'll wait for a chink of light and, James McCarthy or Jack McCaffrey will come bombing through. But the one thing that they're very, very good at now, and, it might go to the chagrin of a lot of people in Croke Park on Sunday, is they're very comfortable just cradling possession. They're very comfortable moving the ball along midfield, laterally, and inviting the press because, there's no shot clock.
Get in!
Yeah, well, that's what you hear all the time. Yeah. But if Dublin are ahead, they will operate on the basis that there's no shot clock, they don't have to take a shot, and it's incumbent upon the opposition to come out and try and press the ball. And once they do, they get in behind. That
was exactly my experience of the game. There was guys all around us going, kick it in, but they played out exactly like you predicted.
Yeah, well, it's only because we've seen Dublin actually do it several times now, not necessarily to Tyrone, not necessarily in the semi-final, but we've seen it in league games. We saw it against Monaghan in the quarter-final, and we saw it against Donegal in last year's All-Ireland quarter-final as well. So
this seemed more pronounced, like a more perfected version of it.
Yeah, well, I came away from Croke Park just thinking this is the best coached team that I've ever seen. This is the best drilled team that I've ever seen. The thing that surprised me was that Tyrone didn't surprise us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I probably thought that Mickey Hart, being the manager that he is, will realise that Dublin would have done a huge amount of homework on everything Tyrone have done over the last couple of years since they became All-Ireland contenders, and that they'd throw something different, so like that press that Kerry gave Dublin in the semi-final last year. We hadn't seen that before, and Dublin got into a bit of a flap when they were taken away from their playbook, but Tyrone didn't, and that they didn't even play their own. Maybe they weren't allowed to play their own system with any great intensity, but the execution of it. The execution, I think, from the Dublin point of view, was the most impressive thing. It was a very well designed game plan, impeccably executed.
Are they always as pronounced in that kind of V shape? Maybe it's a semicircle, but certainly at the ground you could see there was this kind of constant communication with whoever. At one stage it wasn't the corner forwards hugging, it was both the midfielders were down in the left corner, and you realise that they've rotated this so often in training that they're completely comfortable no matter where they are in their specific role. And no one has a role anymore. The midfielders might just happen to be there, and then they are certainly, their job is to hug the left corner and left touchline.
It's probably the closest thing to kind of that notion of total football that you will see. Fellas that are defenders are like the amount of time that Philly McMahon spent as a playmaker, and the amount of times that Paul Mannion was a footballer when he was 20, 21 years of age. Looked like he had a lot of pace and a great left foot, but never in a million years did you think that you'd watch him dispossessing a Tyrone forward inside his own 45, which he did 3 times in the game. So again, I just think it comes back down to coaching and a very, very high standard of it.
Him and O'Callaghan were double teaming some of the was Matty Donnelly at one point, I think, that they chased all the way back to the right corner forward, Tyrone's right corner forward position. And when that's happening, you're just thinking Tyrone must have their hearts broken here.
Yeah, well, I was just a little bit surprised even afterwards that when Mickey Hart said, look, the early goal killed us, when we're forced to chase a game against a team like Dublin, they will get in behind and get space. And you're thinking, well, going behind is one of 2 things that can happen in a match.
Yeah. And more than likely against this Dublin team, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you need a plan.
Yeah, and even there was small variations. Even there was a couple of times watching we were talking on Friday about the Tyrone runners. The guys who handle the ball really well.
Yeah.
And don't use it. And you were even talking about that loop and comparing it to Johnny Sexton loop. But I was watching at one stage. I think it was Tiernan McCann in possession of the ball, and Peter Hart looped around the back of him, and John Small was watching Peter Hart. And at one stage he was so close to Tiernan McCann he nearly could have dispossessed him, but he ignored him completely, and he just kept his eye on the man. And when the pass came to Peter Hart, Small tackled him. Dublin went up the pitch, and I saw Hart turn around to Tiernan McCann and just shrug his shoulders. And that was only, I think, 15-20 minutes into the game, and you could see at that stage Tyrone were all out of ideas.
I didn't see the RT coverage. I was watching the Sky coverage. I was over in the UK at the weekend, and they were saying about the communication. You touched on the communication on the pitch between the Dublin players is an incredible thing to see, and organisation and that little bit of togetherness that they have on there. That was the thing that was quite striking when you were seeing the guys that were certainly on the pitch side talking about that as well.
I think when they have so many very specific roles, there's nobody going on the pitch playing off the cuff. Obviously in certain situations you play, but I think when you have so many specific roles and positions on the pitch where fellas have to do a thing, I think that the communication is essential. I don't think it works without it.
That's all basketball, right? Because let me just play you this clip. At the end of March 2015, Dublin beat Derry by 4 points in Croke Park. The scoreline was 8 points to 4. Derry got some success defensively with the blanket defence, and a few days later we all found out that basketball coach Mark Ingle had been brought in to coach the Dublin footballers. You might have broken that story. To coach the Dublin footballers in a bid to try and beat the blanket. On that evening in 2015, we got Liam McKeon on the show. Mark had actually agreed to talk to us, and then suddenly it was like, he's now working for the Dub, so definitely not going to talk to us that night in 2015. We got Liam McKeon on the show to talk about using basketball tactics. Here's what he said.
That's what the blanket does. It sucks you in, and your wing forwards and your corner forwards and your midfielders all gravitate to the D, and then it becomes just like 20 guys fighting over a turn up in a mucky pitch. You know what I mean? So the spacing is key. Then you need patience. I'd be talking to players that I coach wing forwards and say, I keep gravitating into the middle lane because I'm not getting on the ball. I say, you got to stay out there.
Yeah.
The game will come to you, but you got to stay out there because you're bringing your defender in. And when the midfielder goes down the middle looking for a pop pass, he's met by 3 guys. So spacing is very, very important. Timing is very important. And getting your head up early. I see guys, Joe, now, and they have the ball 40 yards from the goal and they don't even look at the goal. They just pass it laterally. You see guys taking a free outside the scoring zone and they kick it back the ways or they kick it sideways. They don't even look in to see if a full forward or a corner forward is making a run and getting open. So the big thing for me is ball movement, getting the ball up the pitch as quickly as you can, get it into the D, and you need your spacing, and then you need your movement and your big guys coming off the shoulder. But you will be able to attack the middle if you get guys out to the sidelines to pull those defenders out.
It's worth listening back to that whole thing if you've got any interest in this, because one of the other things he said was we as 12-year-olds playing basketball, we would be tasked with identifying the defence in front of us, and we would know what the game plan was supposed to be to break it down. And you get the sense now that Dublin, a bit like Floyd Mayweather, look what the opposition has for 10 or 15 minutes and then go, grand, this is how we're going to beat you. And it's like there's this sense of collective intelligence that they can diagnose and respond accordingly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it seems to be like as well. There's one, again, even against Tyrone, one thing that I didn't expect was, we talked about the corner men hugging the corners and then a player playing on the edge of the square who had a marker. But Dublin actually played with an extra player that went in to occupy Colm Kavanagh. So it just meant that when Jack McCaffrey or Paul Mannion went through, Kavanagh couldn't just step up and tackle because he knew he'd be leaving a man left inside. So I presume that this all comes from that kind of genre of coaching and kind of tactical play. But I think the key behind it all, and not to get away from the tactic element because it was very interesting, like the execution of it was absolutely pristine. The skills of the Dublin players under pressure, they never force a man to check his run. They always give the pass onto the chest in their stride.
Yeah.
That's not easily done either. That's not easy.